Now Rasulullah ﷺ is also getting worried, and the rumor is spreading to the point where he's convinced, and Allah, to test the believers, sent Jibreel alayhi salam to the Prophet ﷺ. Call the followers and make them take a pledge with you. Make them take a pledge with you. So he called. The Prophet ﷺ told one of his people to make a call to gather all the Muslims. بَيْنَمَا نَحْنُ قَافِلُونَ مِنَ الْحُدَيْبِيَّةِ. When we were settled in our caravan in Hudaybiyyah, نادى منادى النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام أيها الناس البيعة البيعة. The caller assigned by the Prophet ﷺ called, people, bay'ah, bay'ah, pledge, pledge, time to take a pledge. Pledge means you put your hand in somebody's hand and you take an oath. That's what a pledge is. That's what a bay'ah is. Okay? نزل روح القدس. The angel Jibreel came down. He's asking for a pledge. That's the announcement. The Muslims start gathering. So فسرنا إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وهو تحت شجرة ثمرة بايعناه فبايعناه. And we came to the Prophet ﷺ, and he was under a tree, and we took a pledge with him there. The pledge was to basically avenge Uthman. If he's been killed, we're going to avenge him. I know we didn't come here for war, but if you kill an ambassador, it's an act of war. Right? And if Uthman is the ambassador and he's been killed, that's an act of war. We will retaliate against that as an act of war. And so we will go fight with the Meccans. And by the way, you're going to fight Meccans in their own territory, most likely you're all going to get killed. Which is why some Sahaba said this bay'ah, this pledge, was a pledge to the death. Others said, no, this was a pledge to get justice, but it means the same thing. It boils down to the same thing. So, and this pledge will also be mentioned in, guess what surah? Surah Al-Fatih. Because all of this is going to be recorded in Surah Al-Fatih. Right now we're looking at the seerah sources and the hadith sources. Then eventually, hopefully tomorrow inshallah, we'll talk about how the Quran comments on all of this. Because there's a difference between when a Sahabi remembers something or the historian remembers something. It's different than Allah mentioned something. We should keep those two separate accounts, isn't it? That's divine perspective. So we're gonna deal with that separately, inshallah. Okay, so the Prophet ﷺ takes this pledge. Now they're ready to fight, because there's already been an attempt to kill the Prophet ﷺ and to stir up the Muslims. Remember the 80 that came to start a fight? And now Uthman has disappeared. So they're ready to go get in there, right? And the Prophet ﷺ told them, Antumul yawm ahlu khayril ard. He told them, you are the best people on earth today. The Sahaba who took that pledge. Then he said, لا يدخل النار إن شاء الله من أصحاب الشجرة أحد الذين بايعوا تحتها. Allah, he said, by the will of Allah, nobody who took the pledge under the tree, not one of them will enter into the fire. Not one of them will enter into the fire. Okay? And then Hafsa radiallahu anha, she had recited this ayah, in وَإِن مِّنكُمْ إِلَّا وَارِدُهَا. The Prophet ﷺ, she recited the ayah. What about the ayah that even every one of you will have to go over the fire? In Surah Maryam. Every human being will have to go over it like a bridge. إِلَّا وَارِدُهَا. And he said, وَنُنَجِّ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا وَنَذَرُ الظَّالِمِينَ فِيهَا جِثِيًّا. And Rasul ﷺ recited another ayah, we will rescue those who have had taqwa. Right? So, and leave the wrongdoers in it. Okay. So, now, by the way, where is this tree? This is one of the great wisdoms of Allah, that they couldn't remember where the tree was when they came back. 1,400 people couldn't remember where the tree was. It was pretty amazing. And one person said, I remember exactly where it is, but I can't tell you because I'm blind. that was the wisdom of Allah. Because if Pakistanis went there today, I don't know if there would be a bigger crowd at the Kaaba or a bigger crowd at the tree. You understand? So one of the wisdoms of Allah is that the tree's gone, because that would have turned into something else. People would have had branches in their house. People would have had leaves. People would have tried to dig up the root. They would have taken the dirt. All kinds of hurts. So, when you go, if you get a chance to go to Allah's house, I want you to remember these stories. I want you to remember the blood that was spilled. I want you to remember the pain that they went through. They weren't going on a tourist site. They weren't going to share their pictures. That's not what was on their mind. They were going towards death. And we get to go because they did this. None of us would even have the sight of the Kaaba if they didn't do what they did.